Good evening. Welcome to Washington. I'm Brett Baer. This is hour one of our special 2-hour special report. We begin tonight with a rare all-hands-on-deck meeting of the U.S. Senate at the White House for a classified briefing about North Korea. This unusual session occurs on the same day the head of the U.S. Pacific Command says a new state-of-the-art weapons system will be online in a matter of days in South Korea. We have Fox team coverage of some of the world's most dangerous neighborhoods. Rich Edson's at the State Department, where how the president's decision to attack Syria may be part of a new Trump doctrine. Connor Powell in Jerusalem as a U.S. Navy ship fires a warning flare at an Iranian attack vessel in the Persian Gulf. But we start off with Chief White House Correspondent John Roberts on what senators heard this afternoon about North Korea. Good evening, John.
Brad, good evening to you. It really is just another indication of the level of the threat that is coming from North Korea and how that threat has changed compared to regimes in the past. An absolutely extraordinary scene here at the White House this afternoon as busloads of senators arrived in the West Executive Drive here at the White House and made their way into a briefing room at the Eisenhower Executive Office Building for what was a very long briefing on North Korea. The briefers, the top advisors to the president on diplomacy, national security, intelligence, Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, Dan Coats, the Director of National Intelligence, Jim Mattis, the Pentagon Chief, and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joe Dunford. The president invited all 100 senators down to the EEOB, a senior administration telling Fox News it was to fully communicate the threat from North Korea, let them ask questions of the president's national security team to better understand the nature of that threat, also to outline what the administration has been doing to address the looming threat from North Korea. They were told that the United States is pursuing a combination of economic actions to isolate the regime along with military preparations that the White House would not go into, at least not publicly. Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware was at that briefing. He says that the presentation was, quote, sobering.
It's clear that Kim Jong-un intends to develop both nuclear weapons and the capability to deliver them against the American mainland. At some point, that will be a very pressing national security concern.
White House officials say they are also getting better concern and better cooperation, rather, from China than in years past since the meeting that the president had with President Xi Jinping. They're getting better cooperation on enforcing UN sanctions against North Korea, according to a senior administration official. A clear effort in the Chinese media to communicate North Korea's bad behavior and that the existence of these North Korean programs cannot be tolerated. Two big changes on China's part, according to a senior administration official: an acknowledgement of the level of the threat that's coming from North Korea and a willingness to take steps that it hasn't in the past to try to rein in North Korea. Brett?
John, another major headline, of course, out of the White House today, and Neil Cavuto spent his show talking about it, the president's new tax proposal. Briefly, what are some of the highlights here?
Yeah, this was the president's biggest legislative plan on the campaign trail, his biggest ticket item, and one that he really wants to get passed, described as a once-in-a-generation chance to reform the U.S. tax code. Here's some of the highlights. The president is planning on reducing the number of personal income tax rates from 7 to 3, 10, 25%, and 35%. That 35 for the higher income earners, higher than anything that the president has proposed before. He proposes to slash the corporate tax rate from 35% down to 15%, double the standard deduction for individual income taxpayers, which would give couples a tax break on their first $24,000 of income. A lot of this plan, though, is still unknown. It's in its very nascent stages, let's say. One of the big unknowns is whether or not the president, Brett, is going to make good on his pledge to eliminate the marriage penalty. I asked that question today and was accused by the president's chief economic advisor of getting into micro-policy issues. But it's an important issue, Brett, for a lot of people.
Hey, our viewers like getting in the weeds, John.
Exactly.
I appreciate it.